where mountains pierce the sky like cathedral spires and ancient cities emerge from volcanic ash as if frozen in time, where turquoise waters crash against marble cliffs and Renaissance masterpieces hang in palaces that once housed emperors. Italy doesn't just contain beauty, it defines it. This is a country where every corner tells a story written in stone, where nature and human genius have spent millennia competing to create the most breathtaking spectacles on Earth. From the snow-capped peaks of the Dolomites that turn rose gold at sunrise to the ethereal blue grottos carved by centuries of Mediterranean waves, Italy is a living museum where wonder isn't confined to galleries. It spills into every piazza, every coastline, every valley. Here, ancient Roman engineering still carries water across landscapes that inspired the greatest artists in history. Here, volcanic islands rise from cobalt seas, their slopes draped in vineyards that produce wines as legendary as the civilizations that planted them. We're about to embark on a journey through 12 of the most extraordinary places on this peninsula. Places where geology becomes poetry, where history becomes legend, and where every view could be a masterpiece hanging in the world's greatest museum. These aren't just destinations, they're experiences that will redefine what you thought possible when nature and human creativity collide. From alpine lakes that mirror entire mountain ranges to underground cathedrals carved from living rock, prepare to discover why Italy has been breaking hearts and inspiring souls for over 2,000 years. Number 12. Lake Como. Nestled between the pre-alpine foothills of Lombardy, Lake Como stretches like a liquid mirror reflecting some of the most dramatic mountain scenery in Europe. This glacial lake, formed over 10,000 years ago, curves into an inverted Y shape that creates an almost impossible collection of vistas, each turn revealing villa-crowned promontories, terraced hillsides, and snow-capped peaks that seem to rise directly from the water's surface. The lake's unique microclimate, protected by the surrounding mountains, creates a subtropical paradise at the foot of the Alps. Here, palm trees grow alongside cypress groves, their silhouettes creating dramatic contrasts against the limestone cliffs that plunge into water so clear you can see ancient Roman stone foundations 30 feet below the surface. The interplay of light and shadow across Como's 146 square kilometers changes throughout the day. Morning mist clings to the mountainsides before burning off to reveal villages that seem to cascade directly into the lake, like watercolors bleeding into blue paper. What makes Como truly extraordinary isn't just its natural beauty, it's the way human creativity has enhanced rather than diminished the landscape. Villa del Balbianello, perched on a wooded promontory, creates one of the most photographed views in the world, its terraced gardens seeming to float above the water. The town of Bellagio, positioned at the lake's center where its three arms meet, offers panoramic views that encompass the entire lake system, a living postcard where Belle Epoque hotels and medieval stone churches create perfect compositions against the alpine backdrop. The lake's depth, reaching 410 meters at its deepest point, creates a thermal mass that moderates temperatures year-round, allowing Mediterranean vegetation to thrive in what should be an alpine environment. This geological quirk has created a unique ecosystem where olive groves flourish alongside mountain streams, and where morning fog rolls across the water like a natural special effect, transforming the entire landscape into something that seems too beautiful to be real. Number 11. Amalfi Coast. The Amalfi Coast exists in defiance of gravity, a 50-kilometer stretch of coastline where ancient fishing villages cling to nearly vertical cliffs, their pastel-colored houses stacked like precious gems against the sapphire backdrop of the Tyrrhenian Sea. This UNESCO World Heritage Site represents one of the world's most dramatic examples of Mediterranean coastal geography, where the Lattari Mountains plunge directly into the sea, creating a landscape so steep that towns like Positano seem to pour down the mountainside like frozen waterfalls of pink, yellow, and white stone. Carved by millennia of seismic activity and erosion, the coast's limestone cliffs rise as high as 1,400 meters directly from the sea, creating a natural amphitheater that frames views of extraordinary beauty. The famous Amalfi Drive, a winding road that hugs the coastline, reveals new vistas at every turn. Terraced lemon groves carved into impossible slopes, medieval watchtowers perched on rocky outcrops, and hidden coves where turquoise waters lap against pebble beaches, accessible only by boat or treacherous hiking trails. What makes the Amalfi Coast truly remarkable is how human ingenuity has worked with, rather than against the challenging terrain. The ancient town of Amalfi, once a powerful maritime republic that rivaled Venice and Genoa, is built into a narrow valley that opens like a wedge to the sea. Its cathedral, with its Arab Norman architecture and striped bell tower, creates a stunning focal point that draws the eye upward from the harbor to the terraced hillsides above. The coast's microclimates created by the interaction of sea breezes and mountain slopes support an extraordinary diversity of plant life. Terraced gardens carved into the cliffs produce the famous Sorrento lemons, massive, intensely fragrant fruits that grow nowhere else on Earth. These agricultural terraces, maintained by families for generations, create a patchwork of green that softens the harsh geometry of the cliffs, while bougainvillea and oleander cascade over retaining walls in explosions of magenta and white. The interplay of light and shadow across the coast changes dramatically throughout the day, creating what photographers call magic hour conditions that seem to last for hours. Evening light turns the limestone cliffs golden while the sea below shifts from turquoise to deep indigo, creating color combinations that seem too vivid to be natural. Number 10. Dolomites. Rising from the northern Italian landscape like a collection of Gothic cathedrals carved from pale limestone, the Dolomites represent one of the most dramatic mountain ranges in the world. These peaks, formed from ancient coral reefs that once lay beneath a tropical sea, create a landscape so otherworldly that they seem to belong on another planet. The unique dolomite rock from which they take their name, a calcium-magnesium carbonate that forms vertical walls and sharp spires, creates formations that are both architecturally precise and naturally wild. The phenomenon that makes the Dolomites truly magical occurs twice daily during what locals call enrosadera, the reddening. At sunrise and sunset, the limestone peaks glow with an ethereal pink and orange light that seems to emanate from within the rock itself. This optical effect, caused by the way dolomite reflects certain wavelengths of light, transforms the entire mountain range into a natural light show that can be seen from hundreds of kilometers away. The color shifts from pale rose to deep crimson to purple, creating a display that changes minute by minute and has inspired artists and photographers for centuries. What makes the Dolomites particularly extraordinary is their geological diversity compressed into a relatively small area. The Tre Cime di Lavaredo, three massive limestone towers that rise nearly 3,000 meters above sea level, create one of the most recognizable mountain profiles in the world. These peaks, formed by the intersection of multiple geological processes over millions of years, display layers of rock that tell the story of ancient seas, volcanic activity, and glacial carving. The region's high-altitude meadows, known as alms, create a striking contrast to the harsh limestone peaks above. These grasslands, accessible only during the brief summer months, burst into bloom with over 2,000 species of alpine flowers, creating carpets of color that seem to glow against the pale rock faces. The juxtaposition of delicate wildflowers against the massive, austere peaks creates compositions that feel both intimate and monumental. The Dolomites' unique ecosystem supports wildlife found nowhere else in the Alps, including the rare Dolomite salamander and various endemic plant species that evolved in isolation among the limestone peaks. Ancient glaciers have carved the valleys into perfect U-shapes, creating hanging valleys and dramatic waterfalls that plunge directly from the high peaks to the valley floors below. Number 9. Cinque Terre. Suspended between sky and sea on the rugged Ligurian coast, the Cinque Terre represents one of humanity's most audacious attempts to create beauty in an impossible landscape. These 5 ancient fishing villages, Monterosso, Vernazza, Corniglia, Manarola, and Rio Maggiore, cling to coastal cliffs so steep that for centuries they were accessible only by sea or by footpaths carved into the rock face. The result is a landscape that seems to exist outside of time, where medieval stone houses painted in brilliant pastels create vertical compositions against the deep blue of the Mediterranean. The village's extraordinary setting is the result of millions of years of geological activity that created a coastline of exceptional drama. The underlying rock, a mixture of sandstone and limestone, has been carved by centuries of waves into a series of small bays and dramatic promontories. Each village occupies a different type of coastal formation. Monterosso spreads across a rare stretch of beach, while Corniglia perches on a rocky outcrop 100 meters above the sea, accessible only by a winding staircase of 365 steps. What makes the Cinque Terre truly remarkable is the way human settlement has enhanced rather than diminished the natural beauty. The The famous terraces carved into impossibly steep slopes and maintained by generations of families create agricultural landscapes that seem to defy gravity. These dry stone walls, built without mortar and perfectly fitted together, prevent erosion while creating microclimates that support the production of some of Italy's finest wines and olive oil. The villages themselves are masterpieces of vernacular architecture, their tall, narrow houses painted in colors that were traditionally made from local materials: ochre from the earth, blue from ground lapis lazuli, green from crushed herbs. These colors, now protected by law, create a palette that seems to have been chosen by nature itself, harmonizing perfectly with the sea, sky, and surrounding vegetation. The coastal path that connects all 5 villages, known as the Sentiero Azzurro, offers some of the most spectacular hiking in the world. Carved into cliff faces and winding through terraced vineyards, the trail provides constantly changing views of the coastline, each turn revealing new combinations of sea, sky, and stone. The path passes through landscapes that range from Mediterranean scrubland to near vertical vineyard terraces, creating a microcosm of coastal ecology compressed into just a few kilometers. Number 8. Capri's Blue Grotto. Beneath the limestone cliffs of Capri lies one of nature's most extraordinary light shows, the Blue Grotto, a sea cave where sunlight creates an otherworldly blue illumination that has captivated visitors for over 2,000 years. This natural phenomenon occurs when sunlight passes through an underwater cavity and illuminates the cavern from below, creating a blue light so intense and ethereal that it seems to glow with its own inner fire. The grotto's entrance, barely 4 feet high and accessible only by small rowboat during calm seas, reveals nothing of the wonder within. But once inside, visitors find themselves in a cathedral-like space where the water glows with an electric blue light that seems to emanate from the depths themselves. The cave, approximately 50 meters long and 150 meters wide, reaches heights of 15 meters, creating a natural amphitheater filled with this supernatural blue radiance. The scientific explanation for this phenomenon is as remarkable as the visual effect itself. Sunlight enters the cave through a large underwater aperture approximately 10 meters wide, located just below the surface. As the light passes through the water, it is refracted and reflected off the white sandy bottom, creating a blue illumination that is both scientifically explainable and utterly magical. The intensity of the blue varies with the time of day, weather conditions, and season, creating a constantly changing light show that never appears exactly the same twice. What makes the Blue Grotto particularly special is its historical significance. Roman emperors, including Tiberius, used the cave as a private swimming pool, and ancient Roman statues of sea gods were discovered on the cave floor, suggesting that it was considered a sacred space. The grotto was rediscovered in 1826 by German writer August Kopisch, who helped popularize it among European travelers during the Romantic era. The cave's ecosystem is as unique as its visual effects. The combination of saltwater, limestone, and limited light has created conditions that support species of marine life found nowhere else in the Mediterranean. Small fish that have adapted to the cave's unique lighting conditions create living constellations in the blue water, while the limestone walls are covered with marine organisms that have evolved to thrive in this underwater cathedral. Number 7. Tuscany's Val d'Orcia. Rolling across the heart of Tuscany like a Renaissance painting come to life, the Val d'Orcia represents the perfect synthesis of human creativity and natural beauty. This UNESCO World Heritage landscape, immortalized in countless works of art from the 14th century onwards, creates vistas that seem too perfectly composed to be real. Gentle hills crowned with medieval towns, cypress-lined roads that disappear into golden wheat fields, and farmhouses that dot the countryside like carefully placed brushstrokes on a vast canvas. The valley's extraordinary beauty is the result of both geological processes and centuries of careful human cultivation. The underlying geology, a mixture of clay, sand, and volcanic ash deposited over millions of years, has created soil conditions that support some of the world's finest agriculture while forming the gentle, undulating topography that defines the region. The famous Crete Senesi, pale clay hills that create lunar landscapes in certain areas, provide dramatic contrast to the verdant valleys below, creating a patchwork of textures and colors that changes with the seasons. What makes the Val d'Orcia truly extraordinary is the way human settlement has enhanced rather than diminished the natural beauty. The hilltop towns of Pienza, Montalcino, and Montepulciano, each perched on strategic elevations that command sweeping views of the surrounding countryside, create focal points that draw the eye across the expansive landscape. These towns, built from local travertine and sandstone, seem to grow organically from the hilltops themselves, their warm golden stone harmonizing perfectly with the colors of the surrounding fields. The valley's agricultural landscape represents over 1,000 years of careful cultivation. The geometric patterns of vineyards and olive groves, the strategic placement of cypress trees that serve as windbreaks and property markers, and the careful positioning of farmhouses to take advantage of views and prevailing winds all contribute to a landscape that appears natural, but is actually the result of centuries of human artistry. The quality of light in the Val d'Orcia is legendary among photographers and artists. The region's elevation, combined with its position between the Tyrrhenian Sea and the Apennine Mountains, creates atmospheric conditions that produce what locals call the golden hour, periods when the light takes on a warm, honey-colored quality that seems to glow from within. This light, combined with the valley's gentle topography, creates views that change dramatically throughout the day, from the soft pastels of dawn to the rich golds of sunset. Number 6. Mount Vesuvius and Pompeii. In the shadow of Europe's most infamous volcano lies one of archaeology's greatest treasures, the ancient city of Pompeii, preserved for nearly 2,000 years beneath layers of volcanic ash and pumice. Mount Vesuvius, rising 1,281 meters above the Bay of Naples, creates a landscape where natural beauty and human tragedy intersect in ways that are both beautiful and haunting. The volcano's perfect cone shape, its slopes covered in the dark green of Mediterranean vegetation, belies the destructive power that lies dormant beneath its deceptively peaceful exterior. The eruption of 79 AD that buried Pompeii and neighboring Herculaneum in volcanic material also created one of the world's most extraordinary archaeological sites. The ash that killed the city's inhabitants also preserved it in remarkable detail, creating a snapshot of Roman life that includes everything from street art to loaves of bread still sitting in bakery ovens. Walking through Pompeii's streets today, with Vesuvius looming in the background, creates a profound sense of connection to the past that few archaeological sites can match. What makes this landscape truly extraordinary is the way volcanic activity has created conditions of exceptional fertility. The slopes of Vesuvius are covered with vineyards that produce some of Italy's most distinctive wines, their roots drawing nutrients from soil enriched by centuries of volcanic ash. The famous Lacrima Christi wine, made from grapes grown on the volcano's slopes, has a unique mineral character that directly reflects the mountain's geological composition. The Bay of Naples, formed by ancient volcanic activity, provides a spectacular setting for both the volcano and the ruins. From Pompeii's amphitheater, visitors can see across the bay to the islands of Capri and Ischia, creating views that encompass active volcanism, ancient history, and some of the Mediterranean's most beautiful coastal scenery. The contrast between the preserved ancient city and the bustling modern Naples in the distance creates a powerful sense of the continuity of human civilization. The volcanic landscape extends beyond Vesuvius itself to include the Campi Flegrei, a large volcanic area that includes underwater hot springs, fumaroles, and the extraordinary Solfatara crater, where visitors can witness ongoing volcanic activity. This broader volcanic region creates a landscape of exceptional geological diversity, where ancient Roman sites exist alongside active volcanic phenomena, creating one of the world's most dramatic examples of the intersection between human history and natural forces. And just when you think it can't get better, wait until you see number 1. Number 5. The Sistine Chapel. Within the walls of Vatican City, beneath Michelangelo's masterpiece ceiling, lies one of humanity's greatest artistic achievements, the Sistine Chapel, where art, really transcends decoration to become a form of architectural poetry. This sacred space, measuring just 40 by 14 meters, contains what many consider the finest collection of Renaissance art in the world, creating an environment where visitors find themselves literally surrounded by genius. The chapel's extraordinary artistic program began in 1481 when Pope Sixtus IV commissioned the world's greatest artists to create a visual narrative of Christian history. The side walls, painted by masters including Botticelli, Perugino, and Ghirlandaio, establish a foundation of artistic excellence that would be crowned decades later by Michelangelo's revolutionary ceiling. The artist, working alone on scaffolding 20 meters above the floor, spent 4 years creating a masterpiece that redefined what was possible in fresco painting. What makes the Sistine Chapel truly extraordinary is the way Michelangelo solved the architectural challenges of decorating a barrel-vaulted ceiling. Rather than working with the architecture, he created an entirely new visual structure that transforms the curved ceiling into what appears to be a series of flat surfaces surrounded by painted architecture. The famous creation of Adam, where God's finger nearly touches that of the first man, creates a focal point that draws the eye upward and inward, making the chapel seem larger and more dramatic than its actual dimensions would suggest. The chapel's acoustic properties are as remarkable as its visual ones. Designed to enhance the sound of liturgical music, the space creates perfect conditions for the polyphonic compositions that accompany papal ceremonies. The combination of artistic brilliance and acoustic perfection creates an environment where all the senses are engaged simultaneously, producing an experience that is both deeply spiritual and profoundly aesthetic. The restoration of the Sistine Chapel, completed in 1994, revealed colors and details that had been hidden for centuries beneath layers of candle smoke and age. The cleaning revealed that Michelangelo was not just a master of form and composition, but also a colorist of extraordinary skill, using brilliant blues, pinks, and golds that create a palette as revolutionary as his artistic techniques. If this journey has already left you breathless, hit that subscribe button. We're only halfway through, and the most incredible wonders are still to come. Number 4. Lake Garda. Italy's largest lake stretches across 3 regions like a liquid highway connecting the Alpine foothills to the Po Valley, creating a landscape of extraordinary diversity compressed into a single body of water. Lake Garda, formed by glacial activity during the last ice age, extends 52 kilometers from north to south. Its waters so clear that medieval travelers described it as a mirror held up to heaven. The lake's unique geography creates distinct microclimates that support everything from alpine vegetation in the north to Mediterranean olive groves in the south, making it possible to experience multiple ecosystems within a single day's journey. The northern end of the lake, where the Sarka River enters between dramatic limestone cliffs, creates a fjord-like landscape that seems more Scandinavian than Italian. Here, the lake narrows to just 1.5 kilometers, creating a wind funnel that produces perfect conditions for sailing and windsurfing. The town of Riva del Garda, nestled between towering mountains that rise directly from the water's edge, creates one of the most dramatic urban settings in Europe, where medieval architecture is framed by peaks that reach over 2,000 meters above sea level. As the lake widens toward the south, the landscape transforms into something entirely different. The southern shores, where the lake opens to a width of 17 kilometers, create a sense of being on an inland sea. Here the climate becomes distinctly Mediterranean, supporting olive groves, citrus orchards, and vineyards that produce some of northern Italy's finest wines. The town of Sirmione, built on a narrow peninsula that extends into the lake, creates a fairy tale setting where a medieval castle seems to rise directly from the water. What makes Lake Garda truly extraordinary is the way human settlement has enhanced rather than diminished the natural beauty. The lake's shores are dotted with villages that seem to grow organically from the landscape. Malsacene, dominated by a castle perched on a rocky outcrop. Limon sul Garda, where ancient lemon terraces cascade down to the water. And Gardone Riviera, where Belle Epoque villas are surrounded by botanical gardens that thrive in the lake's moderate climate. The lake's extraordinary water quality, some of the cleanest in Europe, supports a unique ecosystem that includes species found nowhere else in the Alpine region. The thermal springs that feed the lake create underwater gardens of aquatic plants, while the surrounding mountains provide habitat for golden eagles, peregrine falcons, and other wildlife that can be observed from the lake's shores. Rising from the Arno Valley like a living museum, Florence represents the pinnacle of Renaissance urban planning, where every street, piazza, and building contributes to one of the world's most perfect cityscapes. This UNESCO World Heritage Site contains the highest concentration of art and architecture in the world, creating an environment where masterpieces are not confined to museums but integrated into the fabric of daily life. The city's historic center, largely unchanged since the 16th century, offers visitors the extraordinary experience of walking through a Renaissance painting. The heart of Florence is the Piazza del Duomo, where Brunelleschi's revolutionary dome rises above the cityscape like a geometric mountain. This architectural masterpiece, completed in 1436, was the largest dome in the world for over 400 years and remains an engineering marvel that continues to inspire architects today. The dome's distinctive octagonal shape and red tile covering create a focal point that can be seen from every elevated position in the city, while its interior contains what many consider the finest example of Renaissance fresco painting in the world. What makes Florence truly extraordinary is the way the city's architecture creates a series of perfectly composed views at every turn. The Ponte Vecchio, with its medieval shops built directly over the Arno River, creates one of the most recognizable urban landscapes in the world. The bridge's unique design, where buildings seem to float above the water, creates a sense of architectural impossibility that has inspired artists and writers for centuries. The city's layout, following the medieval street pattern but enhanced by Renaissance urban planning, creates a series of interconnected piazzas that serve as outdoor rooms. The Piazza della Signoria, dominated by the Palazzo Vecchio and its soaring tower, functions as an outdoor sculpture gallery where original works by Michelangelo, Cellini, and other masters are displayed against the backdrop of 14th century architecture. Florence's extraordinary concentration of art extends beyond individual masterpieces to encompass entire neighborhoods where every building contributes to a harmonious whole. The Oltrarno district, across the river from the historic center, contains workshops where artisans continue to practice crafts that have been passed down through generations, creating a living connection to the city's artistic heritage. The quality of light in Florence, filtered through the Tuscan atmosphere and reflected off the city's golden sandstone buildings, creates conditions that seem designed to enhance the beauty of Renaissance art and architecture. The warm, honey-colored light that illuminates the city's facades changes throughout the day, creating constantly shifting patterns of light and shadow that bring the architecture to life. In the heart of Tuscany, on a field of the purest white marble, stands one of the world's most famous architectural accidents, the Leaning Tower of Pisa, whose famous tilt has transformed what was intended to be a symbol of civic pride into an icon of human fallibility and engineering ingenuity. The tower, part of the extraordinary Piazza dei Miracoli, creates one of the most recognizable skylines in the world, where the interplay of perfect geometry and imperfect execution has resulted in a landscape that is both beautiful and endlessly fascinating. The tower's famous lean, currently 3.97 degrees from vertical, began during construction in the 12th century when the soft clay soil beneath the foundation began to shift. Rather than abandon the project, medieval engineers adapted their design as they built, creating a structure that curves as it rises, with each successive floor subtly adjusting to compensate for the increasing tilt. The result is a building that defies both gravity and architectural convention, its 8 stories of blind arcades creating a rhythm of light and shadow that emphasizes the tower's elegant proportions even as it leans toward collapse. What makes the Piazza dei Miracoli truly extraordinary is the way the tower integrates with the other buildings to create a perfectly composed architectural ensemble. The cathedral, baptistery, and cemetery, all built from the same white and gray marble, create a unified design that represents the pinnacle of Pisan Romanesque architecture. The cathedral's facade, with its 4 tiers of blind arcades that echo the tower's design, creates a visual dialogue between the buildings that unifies the entire complex. The baptistery, the largest in Italy, creates a perfect counterpoint to the tower's vertical emphasis with its massive circular form and conical roof. The building's extraordinary acoustics, created by its precise proportions and hard stone surfaces, produce echoes that can last for over 30 seconds, creating a natural sound installation that transforms the space into a living musical instrument. The Campo Santo, the monumental cemetery that completes the piazza, represents one of the finest examples of Gothic architecture in Italy. Its long corridors, filled with ancient Roman sarcophagi and medieval frescoes, create a sense of architectural infinity that extends the piazza's sense of space beyond its physical boundaries. The piazza's setting, surrounded by medieval walls and approached through ancient gates, creates a sense of discovery that enhances the impact of the architectural ensemble. The contrast between the narrow medieval streets of Pisa and the sudden openness of the piazza creates a dramatic reveal that has been carefully preserved for over 800 years. Standing in the heart of Rome like a crown of travertine in time, the Colosseum represents the ultimate expression of imperial Roman engineering and ambition, a monument that continues to define our understanding of architectural possibility nearly 2,000 years after its completion. This elliptical amphitheater, the largest ever built, rises from the Roman cityscape like a perfectly preserved window into the ancient world, its four-story facade creating a rhythm of arches and columns that has influenced architecture from the Renaissance to the present day. The Colosseum's extraordinary design solved engineering challenges that would be difficult to match even with modern technology. The structure, measuring 189 meters long and 156 meters wide, could accommodate over 50,000 spectators in a seating arrangement so efficient that the entire building could be evacuated in under 15 minutes. The complex system of ramps, corridors, and staircases that made this possible represents one of the most sophisticated examples of crowd control architecture ever devised, creating a template for stadium design that remains relevant today. What makes the Colosseum truly remarkable is the way its architecture creates drama through the manipulation of light and shadow. The facade's 3 stories of arches, Doric on the first level, Ionic on the second, and Corinthian on the third, create a rhythm of openings that filters sunlight into the interior, creating constantly changing patterns of illumination that animate the massive stone surfaces. The 4th story, a solid wall pierced by windows and supporting the complex system of pulleys and ropes that operated the arena's canvas awning, creates a crown that completes the building's perfect proportions. The arena floor, now partially reconstructed to reveal the underground chambers and mechanical systems beneath, showcases the extraordinary engineering that made the Colosseum's spectacles possible. The hypogeum, a complex network of tunnels, chambers, and elevators, allowed for the movement of gladiators, animals, and scenery with a precision that created theatrical effects of remarkable sophistication. Wild animals could appear suddenly through trapdoors, elaborate sets could be raised and lowered, and the arena could even be flooded for naval battles. The Colosseum's impact on the Roman cityscape cannot be overstated. Rising from the valley between the Palatine, Esquiline, and Caelian hills, the amphitheater creates a focal point that organizes the entire center of the ancient city. The building's elliptical form, unique among Roman monuments, creates a sense of movement and energy that contrasts with the rigid geometry of the forums and temples that surround it. The structure's survival through nearly 2 millennia of earthquakes, wars, and urban development speaks to the extraordinary quality of Roman engineering. The building's concrete and stone construction, using techniques that were lost for centuries after the fall of the empire, has proven more durable than many modern structures, creating a monument that continues to inspire architects and engineers today. The Colosseum's role in popular culture has made it perhaps the most recognizable building in the world, but its true significance lies in its representation of human ambition and creativity. This is a structure that was built not just to impress, but to function at a level of sophistication that challenges our assumptions about ancient technology and social organization. Italy revealed itself to us not as a single destination, but as a tapestry of landscapes and experiences that span the full spectrum of human achievement and natural beauty. From the ethereal blue light of Capri's underwater cathedral, to the perfect mathematical precision of Florence's Renaissance architecture, from the impossible villages of the Cinque Terre to the eternal presence of the Colosseum, we've witnessed a country where every region offers its own interpretation of magnificence. What emerges from this journey is a profound understanding of how geography, history, and human creativity can combine to create something greater than the sum of its parts. Italy's genius lies not just in its individual monuments or landscapes, but in the way these elements create a coherent whole, a national identity expressed through stone, soil, and centuries of artistic vision. The country's volcanic landscapes have provided the raw materials for both destruction and creation, while its position at the crossroads of Europe, Africa, and Asia has made it a crucible for cultural exchange and artistic innovation. The Italy we've explored exists in a delicate balance between preservation and progress, where ancient engineering marvels continue to function alongside cutting-edge restoration technology, where traditional agricultural practices maintain landscapes that inspired the Renaissance masters, and where the same light that illuminated Michelangelo's workshop continues to reveal new aspects of beauty in familiar places. These 12 wonders represent more than tourist destinations. They are testaments to the human capacity to create beauty, to adapt to challenging environments, and to leave legacies that inspire future generations. Italy's true gift to the world is not just its individual treasures, but its demonstration that beauty and functionality, nature and culture, past and present, can coexist in perfect harmony. If this journey amazed you, subscribe and share it with someone who loves discovery. Some places you visit, others stay with you forever. Until the next destination, stay curious.